Girl and Devil Dinosaur is a show that, in my opinion, did not get the appreciation that it deserved. If you watched my Yap Sesh video from forever ago, you know that I've been tussling with the idea of discussing the show on my channel since last year, 2024. And yeah, I think that more people should be talking about this show. It's got great storylines, action, characters. I mean, just look at it. It's no wonder Disney canceled it. It's a masterpiece. It also has black people. And so yes, I will be reviewing every single episode of this show, because if I don't, who will? Let's just hope and pray that I don't lose interest. I don't know if the Moon Girl fandom is following me though, so just in case they aren't, follow me! Hello, my name is Lasso. I'm an artist/scientist, but I mostly make video essays on whatever cartoons I happen to be interested at the time. They used to be normal until I remembered that I have free will and could do literally whatever I want, so now I make more unhinged video essays to distract from the horrors. This one will probably be more on the normal side though, so congratulations, your first impression of me will not include a discussion of vegetable racism. We're gonna break this up into 4 videos, one for each half season. That way I don't have a crazy heavy workload, and more importantly, I would like to see you guys' thoughts and feedback as I go along. First off, let's go over some general guidelines for these videos. This show has a few storylines that I don't think that I can really discuss without spoiling. Those will be kicking in future videos, but I'm just letting you know that if you want to watch the show with fresh eyes, go and do that before you watch this video. I will also be spoiling each individual episode, so again, if you want fresh eyes, first 6 are up on YouTube. That is 75% of this video. Some of you may have even noticed that I made a playlist of those episodes, so if you haven't already, go find that and watch it. I've not read the comics, and I don't know if I'm going to. My perspective is as someone who has only watched the shows, so just keep that in mind in your discussions down below. Speaking of the comments, I have finished the show as of this video's release, so you may discuss spoilers down there, but just be sure to tag them as needed for people that are either not finished the show or are planning to watch the show but are watching this video anyway, which, I mean, 6 out of 10 use of free will, I guess. I will be ranking every single episode with the following system. A full moon is for episodes that are, in my opinion, the very best of the series. Episodes that are really good will be given a waxing gibbous. I'm not as insanely passionate over them, but I would still heavily recommend. First quarters are for episodes that are fine. Not much particularly stands out, but still a fun watch. Episodes that are given this ranking are not mid, just so we're clear. I enjoy first quarters, they're just not that special in my opinion. A waxing crescent is for episodes that are serviceable but I don't personally much care for. These are episodes that I would classify as mid. And a new moon is for episodes that I don't feel the need to watch again. Although I only foresee 1 or 2 episodes max receiving this ranking. The show is full of bangers. There's not much to dislike here. Now, I'm aware that there's more phases of the moon, but none of us want to remember what 8 different rankings mean. At that point, I might as well just rate them out of 10, you know? All of the episodes are going to be based off of my personal opinion. Obviously. Please do not be obtuse in the comments. I have a lot going on in my personal life right now, and I do not have it in me to be dealing with that. That's enough intro. Let's get into Season 1, Episode 1, Moon Girl Landing. We are starting off strong with a TV movie, guys. Get comfortable. This episode opens with our protagonist Lunella Lafayette roller skating through New York City's Lower East Side, a very diverse and tight-knit neighborhood. Due to some unexplained blackouts, a few businesses in the area have unfortunately had to shut down due to lost merchandise. Additionally, the blackouts have led to increased crime in the neighborhood, which equals more lost business, which equals folks getting pushed out of the community, and Lunella is afraid that her family's roller rink is going to be next on the chopping block. We then meet Lunella's family, her mother Adria, her grandmother Mimi, her father James Jr., and her grandfather Pops. Each of these characters will have episodes that focus on them later on down the line, so we are going to talk about them then. For the purposes of this review, we are just going to focus on our main character. Lunella, being the super genius and ball of fire that she is inspired by the unfinished blueprints of an old scientist that went by the codename Moon Girl and wants to create a power generator to combat the blackouts. Keep this in mind, it's important for the finale. She's already taken it upon herself to make a battery-powered security system in order to stop some bad guys from robbing the rink, and she mentions how someone should really call the Avengers, establishing that this show does in fact take place in the Marvel Universe. Unfortunately, the Avengers have more pressing matters to deal with that are bringing in billions of dollars at the box office, so unfortunately the LES is on its own. You'll notice throughout the season that Lunella is the kind of person that likes to take initiative to help other people. However, she also tends to get in her own head and can be a tad obsessive. Lunella feeling like she has to use her brilliance in order to help her friends, family, and community is going to be a running theme throughout the show. Anyway, down in the apartment basement, which doubles as Lunella's lab, the power generator turns out to be a portal generator, which is not what she wanted. But before Lunella can shut it down, a big red dinosaur comes through and runs through the city. He immediately warms up to Lunella, and she's even able to communicate with him and names him Devil. Now, while the two were out, they discovered the cause of the blackout, a supervillain called Aftershock that's been sucking all the electricity because that's where she gets her powers. Lunella laments that her community really needs a superhero to protect her from the villains and criminals. One thing she's learned from her mother is that
one girl can make a difference, right?
Especially when that girl is you.
And she believes that her brains and Devil's brawn could make a killer superhero team. This is also when we are properly introduced to Casey Maria Eva Duarte Goldberg Calderon. There's this rule of thumb of character writing that a lot of folks don't really seem to understand, and that is that there is no better duo than a black and Hispanic girl. What's my source? Just trust me, bro, I'm always correct. Anyway, Casey immediately makes herself Lunella's manager, not really giving her a choice in the matter, but she makes a compelling argument, so Lunella agrees, and they go out to catch some criminals. They aren't successful right away, but they eventually manage to seize the guys who tried to rob the Rink. Now up to this point, Lunella was struggling to figure out a superhero name, but this is when she finally settles on the name Moon Girl after the scientist that she looks up to. While Lunella is tracking down Aftershock, she decides to help out some people in her community and catch more criminals, which really builds her credibility with the people of the LES. This also establishes Moon Girl, the superhero, as a beacon for the Lower East Side civilians to look up to. However, it's clear that catching Aftershock is gonna pose a bigger challenge than she thought. Devil gets badly injured in their skirmish, and it turns out that Aftershock has a day job as Lunella's new science teacher. I should probably mention that Lunella's school seemingly can't find a permanent science teacher, so the gym teacher, Coach Rebecca, is acting as a long-term substitute. She intimidates Lunella into quitting, threatening her family if she doesn't step down. Casey is disappointed that Lunella would just give up on herself like that, and the two have a fight and split up. Lunella also sends Devil back home through the portal in a way that I find rather unpleasant, and the community has lost trust in her because she was seen fleeing the scene of a crime after a blackout, and Lunella's parents end up putting a for sale sign on the Rink. This whole scene is very somber because Lunella is alone and about to lose all the good things in her life, and she feels personally responsible for being unable to save her neighborhood or the Rink. However, Mimi's supportive words encourage her to make up with Casey and go back out there to catch Aftershock. I'll discuss Mimi more when her time comes, but you'll see that she serves as Lunella's rock throughout the series. It's also revealed the Devil never actually went through the portal. Well, he did, but he came back because he didn't want to leave Lunella, and he felt like she was worth fighting for. We then get a musically charged fight scene. The show is built on its musical fight scenes, and the entire community comes together to help Moon Girl, and they absorb all of Aftershock's electricity back into the ground, thus restoring power to the LES. Now, I understand that that was a lot, but I wanted to go into that one in particular because it establishes a lot of things that are important. The characters, of course, the setting, the story takes place in the LES of NYC in the MCU, and also in the social media age, the original Moon Girl, we'll come back to her at the end of the season, the musical fight scenes, the LES's community, and the Lafayette family Rink. All of these are going to be important to be aware of going forward. Now, as for my personal thoughts on the episode, I ended up enjoying it quite a bit on this watch, which is surprising because fun fact about me, I'm generally not that big a fan of first episodes. They're usually pretty clunky with trying to establish all the important information, which I don't blame them for because gun to my head I couldn't write a decent pilot either, but I don't have to like them. As I mentioned in my 90s show video, which you should really go and watch, for cartoons like this, I think a good first episode could just be any standard episode of the show, but does also give you a very clear glimpse into who the characters are and what they're like, and I think this was achieved by all three of these episodes, so that's good. Of course, this varies from show to show, and, you know, there's exceptions and stuff. However, even though this episode comes off pretty strong, it's honestly not as clunky as I remember it being, so that's good. But what I didn't like was the third act breakup. I'm not really a fan of this trope, and it's resolved so quickly that I'm just sitting here like, I understand you want to put Devil and Lunella, and also Lunella and Casey's friendship to the test, but both of those relationships are going to be tested later in the series, but whatever, it's okay. That said, I'm gonna give this episode a first quarter. If you surgically remove the third act breakup, it's a really good introduction to the show overall, but I don't rewatch it often. Although clearly I should, because I was pleasantly surprised. Season 1, Episode 2, The Borough Bully. In this episode, Moon Girl is dealing with an online troll who keeps leaving mean comments on her fan page.
Siphonator says, the only thing bigger than that robot is Moon Girl's forehead. Hashtag 5-head? Hashtag big head? Hashtag moon head girl? Okay, who is this Siphonator? And why would they say that? My head isn't that big. Right, Case?
Now may be a good time to mention the presence of social media and the lingo that they use in the show. Casey is in charge of Moon Girl's online presence and is considered her manager by the general public. She records all of her battles and posts them on the internet, manages her brand, organizes public appearances, stuff like that. She and Lunella also talk like this.
So, do I have skills? Or do I have skills?
Casey, this video is fire! I was chewing that troll all the way up!
The only thing getting chewed up is your follower count!
Some might find that cringy, I find it cute. I mean, they're 13-year-old girls and this is how they talk, and I personally don't feel like they overdo it all that much. Then again, I genuinely enjoy lines like this.
It's called a manic episode, and you're getting 3 more seasons! Anyway.
The Amazing Digital Circus has some cringy lines, but I genuinely don't think that that's one of them, and everyone else does, and I'm just like, chat, come on, lighten up, Jesus Christ. But yeah, this show has a lot of lines that are, you know, in that alley, so if you're not into that, then... Although, if I'm being completely honest, some of these lines are genuinely unexcusable, so like...
Got a jet. I do have a day job, that's right. A gal can do it all. Bye!
I also feel like the writers incorporate social media well into the show, where it doesn't feel like it's there to be hip with the kids. It feels like it's there because if there was a teenage superhero running around the joint, then she would in fact be all over the internet, so you might as well have someone to manage her image, you know? Another thing I forgot to mention with Moon Girl having an online presence is that she is an influencer in her community. She is the inspiration of the LES. She will be throughout the series. Like I said in the last section, she is a beacon for the citizens of the LES to look up to. There's another episode all about this, so we'll probably talk more about it then, but yeah, it's actually kind of important that she has an online presence because that's kind of part of her whole thing, actually.
Look, you're gonna inspire people, just like you inspired me. I can help get your message out there. I can help you help people.
Also, I don't know if this whole like internet thing is in the comics. If it is, let me know. Now, what I personally don't understand is how people aren't suspicious that Casey, Lunella's best friend, is publicly associated with Moon Girl. Like with most superhero shows and movies, Moon Girl's identity is a secret from the general public, which I'm aware is a superhero trope, and I don't like it. I understand its purpose in universe, but I was raised on the Powerpuff Girls, so it is something that I'm willing to tolerate because I understand why it is there, but I just want you guys to know that I do not like it. Also, Lunella and her family often use African American vernacular English, which can be seen as using internet lingo because of how the internet appropriates aspects of black culture. It's not internet lingo, chat. It's just black folks being themselves. Luckily, my audience is smart enough to know that already, but I just thought I'd put that out there. Anyway, a user by the name of Siphonator makes some comments about Moon Girl that really get to her, and despite Casey encouraging her to shrug them off, she continuously stoops to this guy's level in order to prove that he's wrong, which of course doesn't work, because he's a troll. She then proceeds to dox this motherfucker, which leads her to an actual troll living under the Williamsburg Bridge. Her attacks only make the thing stronger, and he starts taking down the bridge in order to garner internet attention. Obviously, the only way to defeat this thing is to not give him the attention he wants and shrug off his stupid comments, and once Moon Girl does that, it's revealed that the troll was a kid being taken over by an alien symbiote. I totally know what that means, because my friends took me to see Venom 3 last November. Anyway, this kid had a Save the Possum stand earlier that ended up as collateral when Moon Girl was fighting a baddie at the very start of the episode, and he was overall very jealous that his community service was being overlooked by Moon Girls, so he started leaving nasty comments on her blog. He apologizes to Moon Girl, and she accepts on the condition that bro touches some fucking grass, and the episode ends. I'm gonna give this episode a first quarter ranking. It got a few chuckles out of me, and I thought that some of the insults were actually pretty funny, but there's not much more to discuss. It's cute. That's it. Season 1, Episode 3, Run the Rink. This episode is all about patience. So, remember how Lunella's family owns a roller rink? Yeah, so as you can imagine, roller skating is very important to the Lafayettes, and they plan to attend an annual skating event called Roller Jam. Unfortunately, the guy who was going to sub in for the Lafayettes had something come up at the last minute, and Lunella offers to hold down the fort instead. She builds a machine to do all the tedious chores like making popcorn and pouring soda, which quickly goes awry. She calls in Devil to eat up all the popcorn, but he knocks over her mother's expensive turntables. To replace them, Casey suggests that Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur should host a skate night to raise money. This works, but the problem is that the villains around here have social media and they start showing up too. No one is concerned, however, since it's mostly just D-tier villains popping in, and all the attendees seem to think that it's fake, until this guy Gravitas shows up, who's much closer to A-tier. And I have to interject here, because this one villain, Instantane Girl. Her backstory is so funny to me.
Olympic hopeful Sophie Slugfoot took the fast lane to glory with a quick twitch muscle compound that made her a sprinting sensation. But she was banned for life, and so she turned to crime and became Instantaneous.
Like, yeah, girl, you can't use steroids in the Olympics. I fear that is common knowledge. You know? Let's use our brains here. It's like, I fear you deserve to get kicked out. Anyway, back to the actually good villain.
You're green.
This guy is equipped with a gyrokinetic substance, and he uses it to send the entire roller rink flying into space. Lunella realizes that the only way to defeat this guy is to bait him into draining his battery, and they play that one Childish Gambino song while Lunella is bobbing and weaving. Another thing that I'd like to point out is this show's visual style. As you can see, they have a really nice comic book style going on, complete with halftones and paint flicks in the background. I also really enjoy moments like this.
I'll be sweeping till the sun goes supernova!
Or when someone is explaining something and their thoughts pop up like this. Or when characters exit a scene by sliding away, which I can imagine is way easier than animating a walk cycle. The fight scenes especially are so fluid and dynamic and are colored differently from the rest of the show. I know that there's a word to properly describe the way that these scenes are colored, but for the life of me I cannot think of it. Hi chat, it's Editing Lasso. I don't feel like I emphasized enough how much I really love this fight scene in particular. So let me just say that I really love this fight scene in particular. Real quick chat, remind me how many letters are in Moon Girl?
I'm winning, yeah, I'm winning. Rich kid, pick me as a villain. Don't be mad cause I'm doing me better than you doing you. Don't be mad cause I'm doing me better than you doing you.
There's something so, distinct about this scene that, makes it different from the other fight scenes in the show. Something about this scene gives, this is one of the very first things that they animated. Or it was how they pitched the show. I don't even need to look this information up. I can just feel it in my bones. This is definitely one of the very first things they animated or storyboarded for the show.
Did this project feel real to you? Oh my god, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is happening. It exists now.
The vision was very clear, honestly, from the beginning. But I think the thing that really kind of landed it was we did a proof of concept piece initially. It was just a roller skating sequence from the show, and we put Childish Gambino sweatpants attached to it. And we showed that to Disney executives, and we said, this is what the show is. We're not apologizing for it. We're not making excuses for it. This is what it is.
I'm a fucking goddess and I'm incapable of being incorrect. Also, last thing before we finish up the episode, but Gravitas is one of the villains that Lunella is fighting in the opening. So that's pretty cool. Okay, but anyway, Lunella defeats this guy, gets the Rink to land safely, and they're able to buy new turntables, and Adria is none the wiser. I'm gonna go ahead and give this episode a first quarter ranking. Super cute and super fun, but still a pretty standard episode. One last side note, there's a bit at the start of the episode where Lunella is taking Devil to the car wash to have a bath, and at some point the guy working there asks if, quote, that thing is safe, and Lunella looks him in the face and says no.
This thing? Oh yeah! I made it myself.
No, him!
Him? No.
Why are you stressing this guy out, girl? What's going on? Anyway, moving on. Season 1, Episode 4, Check Yourself. Lunella is a very competitive person. And you know what? Rightfully so. She's amazing. Smartest 13-year-old around, and you know that a pair of roller skates hates to see her coming. Unfortunately, this makes her not all that pleasant to compete against. Not in the sense that she plays dirty or is a sore winner, but girly will do whatever it takes to win, refusing to forfeit until she figures out a way to come on top. It makes sense for her character. I'm sure you all have deduced by now that she's a very determined and spirited young lady, and as I mentioned before, she gets a bit obsessive, which is on full display here. So, her school is given a chess-playing supercomputer by the name of LOS-307. LOS is surprisingly emotionally intelligent, along with knowing how to mollywop people in chess, and desperately wants to be able to connect with others. But Lunella is too busy trying to figure out how to win the game to strike up a conversation. She's so desperate to win that she comes back to school in the middle of the night while LOS is charging to finish the game. This causes them to overheat and they start attacking Lunella, threatening to reveal her secret identity and even holding Casey hostage.
Oh, come on, Lunella. We're super geniuses. We could do anything. We could probably crack cold fusion if we had an afternoon and enough paper clips.
I almost got this!
I know how you feel, Lunella. People expect us to win at things like this, and the pressure to win, the drive it takes, it becomes an obsession.
I really enjoy watching all the items around the school that LOS uses to attack Lunella. It makes this back half of the episode so fun to watch. It all culminates in LOS creating a giant techno monster out of the school's computers, which Lunella takes down with a little bit of help from Devil. And just as LOS threatens to expand the playing field to the rest of the city, it's revealed that Lunella hooked up her little hack hubs to the sprinkler system, and once they turn on, she gets the upper hand. However, she admits that she wasn't really being a good sport towards LOS when all they really wanted was to befriend her. Lunella decides to give them a second chance, and the gang sticks them in rice in order to get all the water out. LOS is then given a position as the school's new guidance counselor, since the manufacturers don't want a water-damaged computer, and the episode closes out. This episode has a couple of very minor continuity issues, unless I'm missing something. For example, Lunella is unable to call Devil earlier in the episode using her helmet because LOS hacks the Wi-Fi and the electrical system. Those are their exact words. But then Casey is able to call Devil using a landline phone? It's like, I get what they were going for, but does that not use electricity? Do I not know how landlines work? Or was it just that LOS was distracted? I also don't know where exactly in the episode Lunella installs her hack hubs. She says it was 10 minutes prior to the sprinklers going off, but we don't see that. And we don't ever see her, go off to the side or anything. So we just have to take her word for it. And it's like, I understand why we don't see it. It's supposed to be a surprise to the audience as well, but genuinely, when did she find the time to do that? I think it may have been when LOS was kidnapping Casey, since when we cut back to Lunella, she's suddenly in the full Moon Girl fit, but I can't be too sure. I also have to ask if there's any particular reason why LOS couldn't have been the new science teacher. Poor Coach Rebek is completely out of his element here, and teachers connect with students all the time. Now, I like Coach Rebek. He's gonna have some really good moments later on, but in universe, wouldn't this make more sense? What's going on here? It's like the guidance counselor quits in this episode so that LOS can take that job.
Please don't have any feelings until we hire a replacement.
And it's like, dude, the perfect job was right there. It doesn't make sense to me. However, all of those are nitpicks that do not detract from the episode itself. There is not a dull moment here, it's very dynamic and fun. As a matter of fact, this is the first episode of the show that I watched. I don't even think that I meant to watch it, it just came on and I was mesmerized. I was originally going to give this one a gibbous, and some may argue it deserves one, and that's fine, but this is my favorite episode of the season. It's the one that won me over. How can I not give it a full moon? Another thing that gives this episode a lot of value on rewatch is that you can tell that Lunella is having a lot of fun the entire time. She does say that.
But even when you were trying to squish me, you gave me a real gift. I was having fun.
Me too.
It really does add to how entertaining the back half of the episode is for me. I don't think I emphasized it enough, but I really like the scenes where LOS is attacking Lunella. They're so fun. Like I said before, episode 1 is a good introduction, but man, I am so glad that this was my first impression of this show. But anyway. Ahem. Now that we're halfway through the season, I wanted to quickly list all of Moon Girl's gadgets. Originally, this segment was going to go at the end of episode 1, but I think that this is a better spot to put it because there's a new gadget that's introduced in this episode. Ahem. Retractable roller skates, a jetpack, boxing gloves, which are mostly used as projectiles, the ice blaster, which only really comes up once in this particular batch of episodes, but the name is self-explanatory, the hack hubs introduced in this past episode, the multi-spectrum moon scanner, which originally starts as a vintage tape recorder that her mom gives her, but Lunella repurposes so that it can not only play music, but also scan things. That's the thing she's fiddling with in the intro, by the way. My second favorite gadget, her goggles. They're so fun and expressive, and yes, if you are wondering, that is why I also gave Princess goggles. And my absolute favorite weapon, the bubble blaster, which she mainly uses to catch villains and criminals in their tracks. I have no idea what's in that bubble solution, but it is really hard to get out of a bubble once you're trapped. Although, Aftershock did manage to escape a bubble, but that's only because she blasted it with electricity. She's able to catch the other criminals without much issue. Now, if I were to rank these items based on how much I would want to use them, coming in at number 8 would actually be the moon scanner. I do really like this gadget in the show, but I'm a big fan of headphones. I don't need other people to know what I'm listening to, even if it's a popular artist. People can't know that I like things, that's crazy. Number 7 would be the Ice Blaster. It looks a bit cumbersome to handle, and I personally have no reason to be blasting people with ice. Number 6 would be the retractable roller skates. I don't know how to skate, so they'd be useless to me. However, if I did own a pair of skates, I would put in the effort to learn. And if I could skate, that would make it a lot faster to get to places, which I can't be mad at. Number 5 would be the boxing gloves. I feel like I would really struggle with using them at first, because what if I just clench my fist while my arms are crossed and then it activates, you know? I also don't like violence, so I wouldn't be punching people with them, like, ever. But then again, my main issue with violence is that I don't really like touching people, so if I have something in between me and the other person, I suppose that would be a bonus. Plus, I do have the option to just... Number 4 would be the jetpack. I definitely would prefer flying to skating if I'm trying to get to places in a timely manner, but this particular model doesn't seem very practical. Like, Moon Girl never has an issue with these big-ass engines, but I definitely would. But then again, it would be nice to cut my 13-minute walk to my 8 a.m. class all the way down to 30 seconds, you know? Number 3 would be the hack hubs, although I'm just now realizing that it's only up this high because I'm assuming that I'd be able to use it without much issue. I don't know anything about coding or hacking, so if I had to do anything beyond just plugging it in, I'm fucking cooked. But anyway, it's a really cute gadget, and perhaps I could use it to help me with R. If you don't know what R is, consider yourself extremely lucky. Or I could just use it to trick my school into giving me more money. Number 2 would be the Bubble Blaster. This is my favorite weapon in the show, so I would definitely love to get my hands on it, and the only reason it isn't number 1 is because, well, all but one of my ops are long distance, so I have no real use for this thing. Like, I would mostly just kind of mess around with it, but like, I just really want it, okay? Actually, I can think of a few scenarios where I would use this thing. Like, I don't know, like if I'm at the pool or something, I would definitely use it to just walk around on the pool floor. And you know, maybe it would make me less scared of heights, because if I do, like, happen to fall, I can just use the bubble to catch me. Yeah, I could think of a few reasons why I would use this in my everyday life. But anyway, coming in at number 1 would be her goggles. They perform calculations, they glow in the dark, they look really cool. I don't think further explanation is required. They're super cool and super practical. And hopefully comfortable, because I swear to God, wearing goggles can be so, like, irritating. These are the goggles that I've had since first year. I first had to get them for Gen Chem lab, and these are awful. I hate them so much. And the main reason why I hate them is because I wear glasses. So I put these over my glasses, and it is so cumbersome. They fog up really easily. You know, it makes it kind of hard to see, kind of hard to read things. So what I tend to end up doing is just not wearing them in lab. You know, I'll wear them for the first few weeks, and then after a while I'll get sick and tired, and I just don't wear my goggles to lab. And the professors don't really care. And, you know, I just kind of don't get shit in my eyes. It's that simple. I did it in microbiology, I did it in human anatomy and physiology, I think I did it in organic chem sometimes. I just didn't wear the goggles. And yeah, they probably do make goggles for people who wear glasses, but like, I'm too lazy to go and find them. But that's what I'm saying. Lunella's goggles would be better, because they can do all that fancy stuff, and also, I'll have something to wear for lab. Alright, that's enough of that. Let's move on to episode 5. Season 1, episode 5, Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow. If you haven't noticed by now, Lunella is black, which means that she was blessed with wonderful 4C curly hair, and in order to keep it wonderful, Lunella has to take care of it, which she doesn't always want to do because it's a lot of work and she's got other stuff to do. Her mother gets on her for this, as she says that Lunella is old enough to properly take care of her hair and that to love her hair is to love herself. Lunella kind of hand waves this, even though picture day is coming up soon.
I just needed a consult on my picture day outfit.
Sunny, spicy, sunny, spicy, sunny, spicy, sunny.
Hasty, baby girl, please. Always go spicy.
It's all fun and games until some white girl in her science class makes some microaggressive comments, which makes Lunella feel insecure.
My mom went in on me about how my hair looked this morning.
That's ridiculous.
Right! Thank you, girl.
I mean, your hair always looks messy like that.
Say what now?
Like how it stands on end, all frizzy, but that's the look you're going for, right?
After Casey fails to style her hair, she decides that she wants to straighten it and makes her own relaxer. Unfortunately, she supercharged the thing and forgets the neutralizer, so all her hair falls out. Casey ends up giving her a wig with straight hair, which we probably should have done from the beginning, but White Girl definitely approves.
Hey, your hair is pretty now.
Aw, thanks, girly. curly, but I prefer fierce.
However, it's not all sunshine and lollipops. Lunella finds that straight hair moves around a lot, which makes it really hard for her to fight crime, as her helmet was designed with her puffs in mind. Additionally, it appears like someone is out to get Lunella, tripping Devil while the two are crime fighting, destroying her project for her science class, and sabotaging Casey's wigs. It turns out to be Lunella's relaxed hair, who's come to life and is now the self-proclaimed supervillain called Maine, bent on destroying the city. Oh my god. She's hair. She's hair, and she's torturing people who are bald. Lunella feels backed into a corner, and she tells her mom and Mimi what happened. Well, you know, most of it. They talk about how society is extremely critical of black hair, but it is so important to black culture.
We live in a society that's never valued our natural hair.
People tend to criticize what they don't understand, so they tell us our natural hair is sloppy, unkept, unprofessional, or even ugly.
But they're wrong. Our hair is versatile, textured, beautiful, political, powerful, bold. It reflects our culture, who we are, and what we've been through.
Mimi and Adria both struggled with wanting to fit into white beauty standards, and they damaged their hair as a result. They encourage Lunella to be proud of who she is, even if the world tells her otherwise, as to love her hair is to love herself. This empowers her to go after Maine again, using the neutralizer that they made. They tussle for a while, but eventually Lunella realizes that they're too evenly matched, as she's essentially just fighting herself, which is counterintuitive. Lunella then sits down and reflects on how much she loves her natural hair, and the love that she shows finally gets through to Maine, and she's able to get her puffs back. This episode is phenomenal. When you hear black women talking about this episode on the internet, they often reflect on how they didn't appreciate their natural hair growing up because of Eurocentric beauty standards. I myself wanted long, flowy, straight hair when I was younger because all of my favorite characters look like that, you know? I don't even think that my mom knew how to explain this message to me because she said that my hair was beautiful the way it was, but I don't think it ever even registered in my head, and more importantly, I always hated how high maintenance it was. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with wanting to have straight hair if it's not your natural type, but rather that this isn't the only way to look beautiful. And that's what I didn't understand as a kid, but do now. I did also in fact experience my fair share of racist comments growing up, which didn't even register to me at the time, but looking back I'm like, dang, I was surrounded by villains, what the fuck? I'm not even gonna repeat some of the comments that were made to me because I would really rather not, but like, some of the worst ones weren't even from white folks, they were from people of color and even other black kids. By the way, people of color does not include black people. The appropriate abbreviation would be BIPOC. That's Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is when older cartoons used to have characters that would have a bad hair day, and it was almost always in an afro. That was strange. As a kid, something about that always felt just a touch off, but I was never able to conceptualize what about it was so strange until in the 3rd grade when my mom styled my hair like this and sent me to school. I did not want to go to school looking like that. I was horrified, but I would never dare tell her that. And let's just say that tears were shed that day. And by the way, I attended a predominantly black school. The children who made fun of me were not white. Which is insane to me because these days I see people wearing afros all the time and they always look so good. My sister, for example, loves to style her hair that way when it's not braided. So why was it ingrained in me and other black children that this hairstyle was ugly when it simply isn't?
This is the hairstyle that they put in a cartoon and say, oh my god, she looks terrible. Yeah, right.
And this is why it's problematic whenever artists absolutely refuse to learn to draw black hair. Why exactly don't you want to learn? Share with the class what it is about black hair specifically that deters you. And, you know, struggling with it is okay. Plenty of things are hard to learn, and no one whose opinion means a damn is going to crucify you for trying. I mean, my Sona should technically be in braids or twist most of the time, but like, it is curly like it is in real life, and once I grow out my natural hair, I probably will wear it like this. And this goes beyond being made fun of in school or people not wanting to draw certain characters accurately, by the way. It is absolutely that serious. Do you guys know what the Crown Act is? It was a law that was created in 2019 to ensure that one cannot be discriminated against in the workplace or in school based on their hair. It provides protection to those with textured hair as well as those in braids, locks, twists, knots, etc. Are you seeing a common theme here? The United States of America needed legislation to tell employers that you cannot take one look at someone and turn them away or treat them horribly because of how they styled their hair. And this law is not even a decade old, nor has it been accepted in all 50 states. Do you guys ever wonder how far we could be as a society if we didn't have to deal with racism? One more thing, do you guys remember Fairly Odd Parents: A New Wish? Yeah, well, there's an episode of that show, Trial and Error, that is very similar to this one. I pointed it out when I was binge watching the show last summer. In that episode, Cosmo and Wanda bring our main character Hazel's hair to life. Hazel wants her hair to look extravagant for Most Spirited Hair Day, but her hair starts to feel unappreciated and dips, and the only way that she's able to get her hair back is by showing it some love. You can't convince me that somebody working on that show was not at the very least inspired by the Moon Girl episode. The similarities are just too uncanny. And, by the way, that's not a bad thing. I liked A New Wish, and I thought that episode was very cute. And while the Moon Girl episode felt like it was trying to empower young black girls, the Fairly Odd Parent episode felt like a gentle reminder. There's room for both of these episodes, you know? I feel like, with how ingrained it is in our society to hate black hair, this is an important message to hammer home over and over again. Season 1, Episode 6, The Beyonder. Up to this point, every time a new villain was introduced, a disembodied voice was there to give us a quick rundown of who they were and what their motivations were. Lots of superhero shows have narrators, so it's not something that your attention is particularly drawn to. Until now. So in this episode, Lunella's school is hosting a science fair, and the prize is a tour of the Wakandan Outreach Center. This fuck-ass school is doing anything and everything except hiring a new damn science teacher. Anyway, Lunella really wants to win, but unfortunately she's been paired up with
Eduardo.
Yeah! Look out, y'all. This is about to be the best combo since bread and butter, baby! Woo!
I haven't really mentioned Eduardo, but he's been in almost every single episode up to this point. He's just a side character. He is this hyperactive and immature kid in her class that is kind of annoying in the way that teenage boys tend to be annoying. Not to me, I find him endearing, but annoying to Lunella and Casey. While Lunella is lamenting about being paired up with him out of everyone in her class, the disembodied voice from earlier shows up in Lunella's laboratory. This is the Beyonder, voiced by executive producer Lawrence Fishburne. I think he's a notable figure in films, but I don't watch movies, so my only exposure to him outside of this show was that one time he was referenced in Shark Tale. Anyway, the Beyonder is a chaotic, flamboyant, and powerful interdimensional being tasked with learning about the human race, and since Lunella is the smartest around, he wants to learn from her. She's not having it though, and she just wants to focus on the science fair. She tries to discuss her plans with Eduardo, and notice how I said her plans, because he has his own ideas for what they could do, but Lunella just kind of hand waves them and instructs him to just follow her plan. And at the same time, the Beyonder won't quit pestering her, even putting civilians in danger so that he can watch her save them. Lunella vents her frustrations with Eduardo in front of the Beyonder, and this is what makes him decide to wipe out all of humanity sans her and Devil. That's why he wanted to study human beings in the first place, which Lunella was unaware of because she kept cutting him off. The only way to change his mind is if the two of them can win the science fair. As you can see, a lot is on the line now, and Lunella's control freak behavior is cranked up to 11. She sends Eduardo out to find a hydrodynamic spatula while she builds her, CO2 thingy. He does in fact find it, realizes that Lunella just wanted to get rid of him, and is hurt that Lunella won't take him or his ideas seriously. He was actually really excited about this project and wanted an opportunity to show off what he knows. The Beyonder obviously finds out that Lunella didn't work with Eduardo and destroys her project, literally right before the science fair.
How in the world am I gonna work on it all alone without the Beyonder finding out?
It was Pop.
It's crazy. We were just talking about you.
See, I know you did that project by yourself. I knew your plan as soon as you said it to Casey.
I long for the day when cartoon characters learn to whisper. Eduardo finds her panicking, and she finally hears what he wanted to do their project on. Lunella realizes that he actually had some compelling ideas, and uses her engineering skills to help him put his device together. Unfortunately, it falls apart since it was so last minute, and the Beyonder starts tearing New York City apart. Lunella tries to stop him, but she fails, and just like that, everything's gone. So they sit like that for 5 seconds before he goes lol JK and brings everything back. He reveals that he actually thought that their project was cool, and it showed him that all human beings have value, not just the super smart ones. He actually did change his mind and just did all of that for a goof and a gaff, which is devious, egregious, and vile work. Anyway, Lunella and Eduardo receive honorable mentions for their project, which is actually really generous, but I guess Lunella did a very good job of putting things into sciencey sounding lingo, and the episode ends. Something that I'd like to touch on, and something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, is this idea of different types of intelligence being undervalued. It's understandable why Lunella brushes aside Eduardo's ideas. The fate of humanity is on the line, and she can't tell anybody except Devil and Casey about it. Again, Lunella feeling like she has the sole responsibility to save people, which I mean, I'm not exactly sure what anyone else could have done in this specific instance. I'm rambling. My point was, it's understandable why Lunella was so stubborn in this episode. It was in fact that serious. However, it's very clear from her ranting earlier in the episode that she was likely going to act like this anyway. I mean, she calls Eduardo useless multiple times. Out of frustration, but still. Eduardo is extremely obnoxious and noisy, and Lunella doesn't even know what he could possibly bring to the table. But it's revealed that Eduardo is actually quite observant. His project idea was not at all flashy or as complex as Lunella's idea, but it was still worth something. Hell, it saved humanity and got them an A-. Devaluing intelligence is, in my opinion, so very dangerous. I'm someone who most would probably classify as traditionally smart. I'm a biology and neuroscience student, so I know my way around science. But I also love art. I love to draw, write, and analyze fictional works. Suppressing one in favor of the other has held me back creatively and intellectually. Lately, I've been working on allowing both of these things to not just coexist, but actively blend together, and I think that's working for me. This whole thing with STEM being seen as the highest thing you can achieve on the intelligence spectrum bothers me to my core, and I am someone who benefits from it. In a way. Especially as someone who also knows a thing or two about neuroscience and how the brain works. Like, when my more creatively inclined friends insist that they're not as intelligent as I am, and I'm just like, no, you're fucking brilliant. I'd be looking at their stories and I'm thinking, how much research did you do? Do you know how hard it is to world build? Did you see me fighting for my life in my lore video? I hate doing it. And have you ever seen me navigate a social situation? You would think it's my first time on Earth every single time. Even when I'm at peak mental fortitude, I still have to use all of my brainpower to focus on not fumbling. It's a skill that I simply have not mastered yet. And there are people that can raw dog a conversation without even having to rehearse what they want to say. Like what? Recently I joined the softball club at my school, mostly because I've been lifting weights for a couple of years and I really want to put that muscle to use in some way. And I just know those white boys watch me throw a ball and they're thinking,
oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
You cannot just turn your brain off when you're playing the sport. You have to master eye-hand coordination and know what your body is doing at all times. Do you know that when you hit a softball, a good amount of the force has to come from your hips? Knowing what I know about anatomy, this does make sense, but I didn't know that until they explained the technique. And this is something that I'm actively thinking about while I'm playing is, am I actively engaging my hips while I'm throwing or trying to hit the ball? I think I've made my point. Intelligence goes far beyond actually being a studious scholar, and pretending that it doesn't actually does more harm than good. It leads a lot of people to undervalue their abilities, and I believe that it does hold people back intellectually. As a child, it was ingrained in me that STEM was the only thing that I should ever be worried about, and anything else that I tried to do, talk to my friends, extracurriculars, pursuing anything creative, was useless. And maybe to an extent that's true. In the society that we live in, if you are not the best of the best in those other fields, it's quite uncertain whether you'll actually be able to thrive financially or even be comfortable. But pretending like those other things don't matter has only ever held me back. And is that any way to go through life? In my opinion, absolutely not. Okay, we got a bit off topic there. The next two reviews are going to be short and sweet, I swear. We are going to talk more about the Beyonder later, but for now you guys should know that I definitely love it when a show has a powerful being with a chaotic personality, so I'm a big fan of the Beyonder, even though he annoys Lunella, which sometimes annoys me. He's still got a lot to learn about humanity though, which means that we're going to see more of him in season 2, so you guys sit tight for that. In the meantime, I'm gonna give this episode a waxing giveth. I know that I went on like that whole spiel, but like, given the choice between the last two episodes and this one, I would definitely take episode 4 or 5. Season 1, Episode 10, Moon Girl's Day Off. Yeah, so funny story, this episode aired out of order, and I didn't notice until just now revising the script. This one swapped places with the episode Goodnight Moon Girl. If I had realized that before, I would have done them in their intended order, but it's too late now, so fuck it. Lunella has a pretty busy life, what with having to balance school, being a hero/mini celebrity, and making cool gadgets. It gets exhausting after a while, you know? She even falls asleep in the middle of a battle against the level 2 villain. She also has an all-day photo shoot scheduled for that afternoon, when all she really wants to do is just take a break. So she fakes a twisted ankle and convinces Casey to do the photo shoot for her. Now, I love me a good outfit swap, so I was excited to see Casey in the Moon Girl getup, but she's not exactly comfortable with this. She likes being a manager, but figures she can do this for Lunella since she's hurt. As you can see, there's a lack of communication on both sides. We do get a small glimpse of Devil and Casey together, and they are always a joy to see. Devil actually has a personality and understands English. He's not just the dinosaur, and that's something that I really appreciate. He loves hot dogs, watching television, meditating, he can be a bit sassy, and he has a creative side. He's actually aware that Casey and Lunella are lying to each other, but has promised both of them that he won't say anything to the other. Anyway, Lunella's at home recharging and driving Mimi nuts, while Casey is signing autographs and taking selfies.
Yo, Moon Girl! I get an autograph?
Of course!
My thing is, Casey likes attention, so I'm a little unclear on why she's so uncomfortable here. But I don't know, the episode has always kind of thrown me off for this reason, especially considering episodes 15 and 16. Like, maybe it's because she's dressing up as Moon Girl that's bugging her so much? I don't know, you guys let me know. Anyway, Mimi finds out that Lunella isn't really hurt and lets her know that she doesn't have to feel like a burden to the people around her and is allowed to ask for help if she needs it.
Unless you've built a mind-reading device I don't know about. Have you?
It doesn't work.
The episode they're referencing is the one I'm supposed to be talking about. Mimi also asks Lunella if there's anything she'd like to talk to her about. Anything at all. And Lunella shakes her head no. Meanwhile, the level 2 villain from the start of the episode is back, much to Casey's dismay. She barely wanted to do the photo shoot, and she really doesn't want to squabble up against the villain, but she also doesn't want to bother Lunella. However, Devil isn't having this, and he calls her, who comes running. Unfortunately, she ends up actually twisting her ankle on the way there. Lunella and Casey are going to have to cooperate in order to take this villain down, with Casey carrying her around and Lunella using her ice blaster to take her out. And can we talk about how strong Casey is, being able to do this and keep up during the entire battle? Like, I don't know, I would have messed it up. The second Lunella says go right, I'm flinching in the other direction before I actually go right. I know you people are gonna grill me for that, and you know what? Leave me alone. I am directionally challenged. Also, I love the way Abyss's powers are animated. They just look so cool. After Lunella confesses to what she did, she and Casey agree to clear some time in both of their schedules to take a breather, and their lesson even rubs off on the villain, who's only in the business because it's a family tradition and never thought to advocate for herself before. So that's nice, and you can also tell during the battle that she is not at all passionate about fighting. I mean, look at her form. No sense of style or personality in her stance or how she's throwing the vapor at them. She's just doing it. It's like she's being paid minimum wage. She's not even moving around or anything. She's just standing in one spot and hoping for the best. Sorry, Abyss, I had to roast you for a second. I'm hoping that because you're not actually passionate about any of this, that's okay by you. Anyway, I was going back and forth on this one and whether I wanted to give it a crescent or a quarter, but ultimately I think I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a first quarter. I am a fake fucking fan. When I went to watch this episode for this segment, I was like, huh, the villain kinda sounds like Davy Diggs. Weird.
Commence Operation Pizza Aficionado.
It is fucking Davy Diggs. Why have I never looked this up before? He literally has a rap verse. I am so sorry if you made it this far in the video and you were thinking, thank God she didn't reference Hamilton. It had to be done, okay? Frankly, I don't know why you thought you were gonna escape this video without a Hamilton reference. But anyway, Season 1, Episode 8, Teacher's Pet. In this episode, Devil is really excited to spend time with Lunella and Casey, but they're too busy looking after the class pet hamster, which makes him feel left out and jealous. The hamster's name is Angel, spelled like this, but I already know I'm gonna fight for my life having to say that, so I'm just gonna call him Angel, okay? He's used to getting all of the love and attention, and he was looking forward to watching a movie with them, but they're too busy gushing over Angel. Devil even has a nightmare where Angel replaces him in the theme song, which is actually a pretty funny gag. This causes Devil to knock over his cage, allowing Little Bro to escape. Devil kinda panics because Lunella entrusted him with watching over Angel, and he sets out to go find him. Unfortunately, Angel is terrified by the imposing red creature looming over him, and runs into the episode's villain, a sentient rodent called Rat King, voiced by Davy Diggs, who has an army of rats that he can command.
We must extend our hospitality to our brother in Rodentia. Get the hamster, lure the larcenists, get revenge, eat pizza!
Anyway, since Angel got away, this means the devil has to come clean, and Lunella isn't happy at all. She tells him off, and the scene makes me really sad. Like, I don't like when Lunella yells at Devil. Like, that's why I don't like that one scene in the first episode either. Lunella's moon scanner leads her to the sewer where Angel is, and the Rat King captures her. Something that I really hate in fiction is when a villain will set up a Rube Goldberg device, and the characters will just watch it go off instead of, oh, I don't know, moving. But in this episode, Lunella moving is the actual trap, not the device itself. So I appreciate that. That was pretty funny. Angel escapes to find Devil, who, surprise surprise, isn't that scary after all, and he immediately comes to her rescue. Once they defeat the Rat King, Devil and Lunella make up, and Devil becomes friends with Angel. I don't often rewatch this episode, but now that I'm talking about it, I'm trying to figure out why. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Lunella being mad at Devil isn't pleasant, but like, it's not as bad as I remember it being. I know what it's like to feel replaced in a friendship, and unfortunately, it did not end as well for me as it did for Devil, so maybe this episode just hit a little bit too close to home at the time that I watched it. I'm also not that big a fan of jealousy plots. I don't know, for me personally, Devil episodes tend to be a little bit on the weaker end, so, you know, maybe that has something to do with it. You know what? A waxing crescent is for episodes that are just fine, but I don't care much for. First quarters are for episodes that are just fine, but I do care for. So I'm gonna give this one a crescent, just because there are a lot of episodes that I would rather rewatch before I put this one on, but it's not bad, that's just my opinion. Alright chat, we are officially halfway through the first season of Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Here are the rankings if you'd like to look at them again. As you could probably tell, this season is pretty episodic. All that plot stuff from episode 1, yeah, none of that is coming back until the 2-part finale. For now, we are purely focused on having fun, which I did. This half season was also pretty heavily focused on Lunella, of course, but don't worry guys, upcoming episodes will give focus to Casey, Devil, Lunella's family, and the Beyonder, which probably means the next few videos are gonna be a pain in the ass to script, but let's not worry about that for now. Assuming that I don't lose interest or anything, which I really don't see happening because I really want to talk about some of those season 2 episodes, we still have 3 more of these videos left. And those videos will surely be more involved, so if you guys have any ideas for how I can improve my reviews, such as certain things I can delve more into, please let me know. Remember that these are suggestions, not requests. We are having a discussion. No one around here takes orders. Those of you that decided to raw dog this video, please mind the spoilers in the comments and please check out the first 6 episodes on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out my other videos. I really like when my viewer count has a K. Subscribe to my second channel, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.